You're listening to the Platte River Bard. Creatives, sisterhood, a broad shared vision, ambition, community. That's what Becky Boesen and Petra Wahlqvist have accomplished together. Two talented and driven creatives brought Blixt Storefront Theater to life. Their theater is bringing communities together with performing arts, not just in Lincoln, but all over the state. Nebraska is lucky to have these two incredible women supporting creatives in many relevant and important ways. Today, we bring you a genuine and honest conversation about their work, and we share about their new upcoming season. You'll find all about it here on the Platte River Bard.
Hello, and welcome to the Platte River Bard. This is Chris Berger.
And I'm Sherry Berger.
And we are here at Blixt. We are actually here in person at Blixt. We are here with Becky Boesen, the co-founder and executive director, and Petra Wahlqvist, the co-founder and managing director, and she's also with Nebraskan for the Arts. Thank you very much for having us here at your place.
Yes, it's so exciting to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. And Petra, you are a returning guest on our podcast, so friend of the podcast. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you for coming out and visiting with us here.
Oh, we love it. And Becky, you're new. Welcome.
Yes.
I'm a noob.
Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of exciting things happening. We are actually sitting in their new space.
Yes, indeed.
That they are in the process of finishing, and it's beautiful so far.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you.
So you have a whole season coming up. I mean, I know you've done some things in September already, but I thought we would talk a little bit about what's coming up soon.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
It's coming up very soon.
Coming up
Yeah.
very, very soon. Yeah,
'Cause
no.
you're doing Jean, even I think next week.
Next weekend, yep. A
It's,
week from Saturday
yeah, the
on
15th.
October 15th.
Yeah.
So something that Petra and I are both passionate about as co-founders of Blixt is not only championing new work, but championing Nebraska creatives and the capacity we have to build world-class work throughout Nebraska and greater Nebraska. And so I think a dream that we've both always shared is the idea of making the landscape a little more accessible for creatives so people don't feel like if you want to go to New York or LA, could do that. But we want to keep some of that talent here. And so we've really put a focus this season on Nebraska talent, which is exciting. And that's what our season reflects.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Very
Jean is by Ann Truca, and kind of going back to last season too, we launched a fellowship for young playwrights, Nebraska playwrights, and Ann was one of our fellows. And so this work, Jean, is kind of a continuation of that, putting it in our season. So we're really excited about that.
Excellent.
Yeah, we'll have 2 shows at Innovation Campus at the Mill, 2 and 7 on October 15th, like you said. And the Mill are great friends of ours too, so we're so thankful to be able to do some shows there while we finish up here, as you said, before we can host in our own space.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, and so this is a one-person play.
This is a one-person play, and it's so charming. Anne worked on this play throughout last year and then launched a sort of workshop performance at Nebraska Wesleyan, where they are now a graduate of. And I saw it. Anne was my playwriting student for several years at Nebraska Wesleyan and just fell in love with it. When we look at stories of characters, and particularly non-binary characters who don't receive enough representation on stage currently, we're always looking for work that brings people closer together. And I think you would be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't fall in love with this character, regardless of their beliefs or where they're coming from politically or intellectually or spiritually. So it's a real people connector, and we gravitate towards that work.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we all want to connect, and this character is particularly looking at the connection with our family and things like that I think are really relevant for most of us. And I haven't seen it, so I'm so excited. I've read it and I fell in love with just reading it, so I'm really excited Anne arrives here tomorrow. So we are.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So
Off book and ready to go.
That's right. So it's going to be really wonderful, and I'm excited to bring my children to it and just invite the community. Anyone will be able to just enjoy the performance, and then we'll have a conversation afterwards, which is something that we do a lot, and that will be facilitated by Pat Tetro, who's one of our board members, and also with UNL's LGBTQA Center, and Pat is
Founder director,
yes. And just Pat's the most amazing person, and so
I want to be Pat when I grow up.
we all want to be Pat.
Yes, we all want to be Pat.
So Pat also will facilitate that conversation with everyone, and those are also so just impactful and wonderful, and another way that we all connect. So very excited.
Yeah, and this is free. This is a free performance.
This is
right?
actually a ticketed performance.
Oh, it's ticketed. I'm
but
sorry.
very affordable.
Okay.
And we never turn someone away
That's
who
right.
shows up and says, "Hey, I'm here and I want to see this."
Yes.
Oh,
So, you
that's
know.
wonderful.
We have ample of complimentary tickets that we also offer as
that's
part of it.
wonderful.
So
Yeah, reach out if you want one.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and I know you sometimes do the free events, just like the one
Absolutely.
you did in September, so that's great for people to watch for.
Yes.
That's right. And we have been we are so fortunate for our partnerships and fundings and friendships that allow us to put forth quality artwork and make it inclusive with easy access points. So we certainly have been blessed with opportunities to share theater in affordable or just completely free ways.
Absolutely.
So how did you come to decide on this being your season? I guess I'll just kind of start us off with that. Like,
Yeah.
are you the programming deciders?
Becky is really, even though her title is executive, we don't have an artistic director, so Becky, functions as our artistic director, and so Becky curates our season. But of course, we're all super excited about it. So, do you want?
Yeah, we could talk a little bit about that. So in curating the season, I think we're always looking for new work that sort of approaches the world from a different lens than we're used to looking through. We like to sort of create juxtaposition in our season. So first show out of the gate is this non-binary children's book author, and then our next show is a commission that deals with the letters of a World War II soldier who helped liberate Dachau. So we are literally sort of hopping all over the place.
Certainly.
And basically it comes down to what sparks an interest or a passion in us, what we know we can accommodate at the highest level in terms of quality and value for our community, and trying to lay a kind of framework that welcomes people from all walks of life and every corner to come forward and understand that in a creative process and in the arts, there is a place for everyone. Yeah. So we're just trying to continue to crack open that door and really leverage the power of invitation. And frankly, we're very happy at Blixt. I mean, it's almost a value to throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
We're willing to take risks.
Yeah.
We're willing to know that some productions are moneymakers and some are not. We are really more motivated by passion and purpose than anything, which, most nonprofit people are. So we just like to put a variety out there and try to leave the door open and continue to crack it open for folks that are theater lovers and people who can't maybe imagine themselves sitting through a play.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have people are you going to do like a season ticket holders, or are you doing just one production at a time right
We do
now?
one production at a time, but we
Yeah.
will have an opportunity to become members.
Yes, we're doing an
Wonderful.
upcoming
Yeah.
membership campaign, and in future seasons, once we're more, we've been around since 2015. We started our nonprofit affiliation in 2018. Then the pandemic hit. This is our first time in a production space that is all ours since the pandemic. And so we have opportunities to grow things like that out. But really at the heart of what we're doing right now is trying to make space for creative people who are looking for that place not only to fit, but to shine and put their creative talents to use in Nebraska, in the Midwest. And so we'll be launching very soon a campaign that we like to call Weirdos Welcome.
I love it.
That taps into the idea that we're all a little weird.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we need a safe place to be weird.
Right.
Yes.
And that's Blixt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's certainly where we got started, is Petra and I are big weirdos.
Yeah.
And, you know,
We don't really like to ask permission, and we don't.
it's been hard to find our fit, and
Yeah.
she's Swedish, and I was born in the Ozarks, and, you know, we're just weird. So we're just trying to, like, send out that beacon for other weirdos to say,
Yep.
you know, we can have a home and a career and a life that's artistically fulfilling right here in Nebraska.
Absolutely.
I love that you guys are doing this together. And I mean, really, it's so nice to have somebody to rely on.
Oh
for-
my goodness, I don't even know. Like, every day I just think
nice
it's
to have
like
a
a
team.
marriage in a way. I mean,
We
we
are. We have our men at home, but this is a very valuable marriage we have going on here.
I think it's unique, you know, like when you find that creative
Yeah.
partner, like that is really hard to find, and it's not something to take for granted. So certainly we feel it every day. And although we are very similar in many ways, we also have distinctly different skill sets in other ways. So it means that we can kind of complement each other and
Yeah.
things that I'm like, oh, I don't want to touch that. Beck's like, oh, I'll do it, and kind of vice versa. So it's really works well for gaining momentum and having fun and kind of, trying to do it. I could not do it on my own 100%, and I just...
No, neither of us could. This organization really requires both of us to have, you know, our hands on everything. And as we were discussing before we came on mic, Petra and I did not like each other when we met. We were called together by Tony Kushner, of all people. There was an event featuring Tony Kushner that centered around angels in America and a conversation that was happening at the
Okay.
university.
Yeah.
And Petra was new to Lincoln and came in from the Lead Center, and I was working for the Johnny Carson School. And I remember going home and speaking to my then husband and being like, oh my God, this is an ice queen. And who names their kid Petra? And Petra can tell you what she thought, which is just as offensive.
That's so funny.
Who is this person with the weird hair?
And I honestly think, in retrospect, we reacted like magnets. We felt so strongly, probably subconsciously connected, that it went first to.
Where you kind of have to like distance yourself.
I think we're trained as women to be threatened by other women, and you know, we don't subscribe to that at all.
No.
Like at this point, so much of our work goes into championing people beyond your usual suspects. But I think there's a little bit of that in us. And then I think it took one production, a production that I had written that was premiering at the Lead Center in like 2009, 2010.
that's exactly right.
Petra was the education director there, and we actually sort of like fell platonically in love over a theater process. And then we could see each other through our work.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that made all the difference.
Yeah, and then in 2016, we both left the Lead Center because we're like, we think we can do this for ourselves and do it without having some of the limitations that are imposed when you're at
Any
kind of
kind of
established
university, yeah.
brick and mortar or university. You know, the sort of bureaucracy that unavoidably comes with that. So we thought, you know,
Yeah, we understand. Now, just like we were talking earlier with the podcast, we just want to be our own independent selves.
For sure.
Yeah.
We totally get that.
Yeah.
And sisterhood is so important. I think some of, I think we don't learn it enough. And probably some of my biggest enemies are probably women. But it is, you're right, it is because they see someone else as a threat, or they don't like one thing about them, so now they're gonna try to destroy
Like their
them and bring them
hair,
down.
which has been weird these 15 years since.
Still the same.
And I love it.
Well, but isn't that part of the whole dehumanizing process that we have, just going on in our nation today? It is just another aspect of it. Like, we're just not seeing each other as people. But once you guys saw each other as people with that shared interest, and I think it's really actually very interesting that you have the same interest, but you also have the same drive and commitment. And I think sometimes that is the hardest part to get to, is to find someone that's like you and is also committed to the same thing that you want to be committed to.
I think something we've been really fortunate about is that no one here will drop the ball. And it doesn't matter if, we allow room for one another's humanity.
Yeah.
If one person is having a really hectic or tough week with all the multiple workloads that we carry in the arts throughout the state, then the other person steps up and takes over. And there's, I know Petra and I both have expressed to each other, oh, I hope I'm doing enough. Or, we're both doing enough all the time. And we always have each other's back. And as our staff has expanded, because we've added a remarkable new staff member. And it's really our first after being a partnership for so long.
Hey, cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. And we are so lucky for them. And we have
Rihanna and Summer.
Yes,
that's right.
yes, both awesome people. So
Yes, and now we say, what did we do before?
I know, we don't even know what we did before. So, how did we do it?
Fantastic. That's got to be really satisfying to be able to be successful enough. It's like, hey, we need more people.
Yeah.
It is exciting, and I think it's just in terms of personal growth, it's knowing you don't have to do it all. And I think
Yes.
Petra and I have both learned over time, because we've seen so many people live unhappy trajectories in the arts that want to control everything and kind
Well,
of lay down this iron fist.
I've seen that just in any business owner.
Yes.
They can't give up an ounce of control, and they don't know how to trust anybody.
Yeah,
that's right.
And
And
they just kill themselves.
They kill themselves, or they kill the person
Yeah.
who is trying to sort of make their own mark. And we decided early on, first of all, and we made a deal with our friend Steve Barth, who's the artistic director at Crane River and Kearney.
Okay.
If we start to get like old and cranky and like controlling, we're gonna tell each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at the end, that's kind of a joke. But at the end of the day, we know we're better when we actually make room
Yes.
for other people to make some of our decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
We want that outside influence, and it only makes us stronger.
Yes.
We don't have to do anything, and the world doesn't need us
Yeah.
to do everything. There are other people
Yes.
with gifts and talents to share. And we just
Crave collaboration. We
Yep.
love it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you're both young and you understand, just how the power of social media and how to utilize it and make it work
True.
for you.
That's so kind. We're relying on our young people too. We're so fortunate at Blitx that I would say that our majority demographic is 20 to 35.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the energy that they bring and all that they have to teach us is, a learning curve that we're willing to kind of like slip and slide through to try to connect with more Nebraskans. So, we're learning about the TikTok
Yes,
and
and
the
the reels
and the Snapchats and
Hey,
Those are some-
we
yeah.
got to do it.
Yeah.
And it's part of it. I know. And
There's a few I'm not ready to.
I know. And Sherry and I were just talking about this, or maybe was I talking about this to you? Maybe it was you. We're old enough where there's sort of this line now that we're starting to see sort of pre and post internet. Mm-hmm. And I mean, internet sort of is all encompassing because everything's the internet now.
Right.
The phone, everything's we're using it for everything.
Yeah.
And I think socially, I don't think we've quite realized what it's done to us yet.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to figure out what it's done to us and what it is doing to us. I think it's very interesting.
I do too.
And I was just, oh God, I don't know who I was talking about. I thought I was
We
talking
talked
with you
about
about
TikTok a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
and
asked you what pirate talk.
Pirate talk was a
I
thing.
think that's
yeah.
the conversation we had.
But and it happened early enough, I think, at least in our lifetimes, that it still feels like the internet is my thing. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
But it's new, but it's still my thing.
Yeah.
I don't feel too old for it yet. I know there are certain things as you get older, when they hit, they don't feel like they're yours anymore.
Yeah,
That's right.
for
I
sure.
feel like at a table of Gen Xers,
Yeah.
we were enough on the
Yes.
cusp of that.
Yeah.
that- and, also as Gen Xers, we don't take ownership of it. We share it with the boomers and the millennials.
Yeah,
we just
exactly.
say, hey,
no,
I'm here.
we don't need anything as Gen Xers. No, we get
Don't
nothing.
mind us.
don't
Can we
know.
carry the thing?
Yeah. That's like our generational tagline. Don't mind us.
Yeah, don't mind us. we'll fix it. We'll do it. Don't mind us.
We'll do our own thing. Don't mind us.
I am going to claim the 80s music, though.
Yeah, always.
yes.
Nothing
We must.
better. I'm
Yeah.
raising my children on 80s music,
Yeah.
and I'll never apologize for
Yeah.
that.
Exactly.
It's crazy. I know. I know. It's high school all over again.
Yeah, it is.
I love it though.
Online.
But yes, no, but the whole social media thing is so important. It's huge,
It
and it's kind
is.
of everything, and especially when you have like no money to advertise.
Well, and I feel like
And where do you advertise?
yeah, that's right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
where are people looking?
Yeah.
90% of the time,
There
they're
you
looking at
go.
their phones.
There you go.
And I also feel like there are kind of two things happening in that maybe people are connection starved because of technology, but I think it would be remiss to assume that this younger generation isn't capable of connecting over technology. I
Correct.
think we're connecting differently.
Yes.
And so, I mean, it's the way that you see meaningful friendships form on social media from people who have never met face to face.
My daughter has done it several times.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I try to stay open to that as we think about our social media, being very intentional, authentic, and sincere, because I don't want to take for granted that, in fact, a new generation does feel impactful connecting happening
Yes.
over social media.
They do.
And that's really what we want to do. I mean, we are, at the end of the day, we're all about invitation. We're not as interested in selling tickets as we are connecting to
Yeah.
people through the arts.
Yes.
And so if we can connect to that younger person that maybe isn't comfortable picking up the phone or isn't ready to have that conversation face to face, but there's something that resonates with them, you bet we're going to shift that out there and see if that
Absolutely.
helps invite them into the arts.
And we have kind of an exciting project coming up
Yes.
in early 2023. It's written by another one of our playwriting fellows from
Ooh.
last year, Ryan J. Furlong, and it's called The Processor, and it explores so part of it's written by Ryan and part is written by artificial intelligence. And so it's really looking at
wow.
those like obviously not social media specifically, but what we're talking
Yeah.
about, the kind of, and so it's we're just like drooling.
Yeah, we
with it.
drool when we talk about this project.
because
Neat.
it's so exciting to us, and we know that
And Ryan's
really,
young. Ryan's
Yeah.
21 or 22, brilliant young writer.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
the thing is, it also kind of taps into the Turing test a little bit. And there's an element, I never like sort of forceful audience participation, but there's this element where the audience has the opportunity to vote on what they hear and whether it's being created by a human or by AI. And then they're either rewarded or sort of reprimanded, depending on whether or not they get it right.
Right.
And I mean, it's so innovative. And generationally, I would never think of that.
Yeah, so we just love that. Like we talked about with having so many young people involved in our organization, and like that.
We can't afford not to have that weirdo
Yeah,
Ryan
that's
with
Oh my
us.
God,
You
yes,
know?
that's a tailor-made.
Weirdos, welcome.
Jeez.
Exactly. So we're just fortunate.
Oh, wow. That's going to be really interesting. So does that mean that part of the script is going to be delivered like in an AI, or is it he's delivering all of the lines?
He will deliver the lines, and you just have to decide what is. There is a voice. There is sort of an offstage voice that happens, but you really don't know. You have to decide what's real and what's not real. And I think part of it is Ryan's commentary on, as a young person, about our relationship with technology and how we decipher what's real and connected and what's false and created to sort of target us
Right.
or to cull us into something.
Right.
So I am just he's
Yeah.
wonderful.
That sounds
We're
really
fascinated
neat.
by that
Yeah.
work.
Wow. I love that you guys are doing just so many new works. And I can't even imagine, I know History Nebraska has come to you and said, hey, we want you to do this project. And that's going to be the not too far distant play. How does it work? Somebody just comes to you and says, hey, can you write a play? And you're like, yeah, sure, I can write a play.
Yeah, we do that here.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah, it's no problem.
It happens like that sometimes. But generally, you know, we are so relationship driven at Blixt, and we are really invested in our state and have, between us and together, had the opportunity to work with so many other organizations and communities. And that particular project just started with a conversation that I was called into because an amazing woman, Beth Doughton, who is a PhD candidate at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, has spent 20 years curating the letters of Holocaust survivors and liberators from World War II onto an online portal. And actually, if you just Google Nebraska Stories of Humanity, you have access to these. But there's one gentleman, Clarence Williams, who was a medic in World War II, part of the Rainbow Division, 42nd Infantry, who wrote letters daily to his wife, Gretchen, and ended up being a part of the division that liberated Dachau. And so for the launch of the portal, there was an exploration of maybe sharing some of these letters. But I was invited into that conversation and couldn't help but say, you know, I think we could like make it bigger. What if we did this and this and this? And so that created a collaborative conversation about possibilities and ultimately ended up in a partnership and commission to write Not Too Far Distant. So I was gifted in advance of the launch of the portal Clarence's letters and photos and documents, 400 plus assets that were available. And from that, started to piece together a story based on his letters that now is about a 80-minute piece of theater. Cool. And Blixt is working with Humanities Nebraska, History Nebraska, Nebraska Cultural Endowment.
Yes, and Beth and the Portal, and also the Institute for Holocaust Education, and we have some awesome local supporters as well. So they kind of, this partnership grew with all these amazing partners that we're so excited to work with, and everyone just kind of bringing their expertise to the table. And
an educational initiative within that, which we're very excited about.
So that there'll be awesome educational resources, both for teachers who want to teach more around these issues, but also community groups. Of course, we're inviting our veteran population as well, and also really welcoming young people, because part of the commission was bringing history to life, and so that's what, Not Too Far Distant, which of course didn't have a name at the beginning, so that probably happened sometime, maybe this summer even.
I think it did.
Because I think I was in Sweden. You let me know.
It's like, hey, Petra.
But like Becky said, starting with relationships and partnerships, and then all of us working towards the same goal of telling the story. And at Blixt, our specialty is kind of, that Becky is the playwright, and then we're producing it, and then our other partners bring their expertise from, history and Holocaust, and we all come together to then share this with the state. Wow. So we're pretty, and then of course we have not only Lincoln and Omaha performances, but we'll also be at the Golden Husk in Valley County, one of our favorite places.
Our home away from home.
Yes.
Yeah, that's in Ord.
That's right.
Okay.
And we're getting interest daily, so this is really a long-term project for us.
Okay.
Beyond the performances that we have scheduled for this fall, we're planning to offer it to those other communities who want it, but who may, who've just learned about it, and so
Okay,
we'll keep
keep it
sharing
on
the
hand
story.
and-
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So that's November 3rd at the Jewish Community Center in Omaha, November 4th at the History Nebraska Museum in Lincoln, and November 11th at the Golden Husk in Ord.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and is this going to be kind of similar to like Puddin' in the Grumble, where you'll just be able to maybe produce it in other places at other times?
That's
So
absolutely
that's kind of
right.
the plan for it. So
Yeah.
that's great, because otherwise you'd just be playwriting all the time. Like,
Oh
you
my
can't-
gosh.
And
Right.
every time
share it all.
every time a script is sort of complete after the multiple revisions and we get it on its feet and tweaks are made, I always go through that process of thinking, I don't know if I can ever write another play. And then an opportunity comes up and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know. And then I'm like, I'm on fire. I'm really excited. And
Yes.
then at the end of it, somehow there's another play.
Yeah.
So
great.
it
Yeah.
can kind of like go too fast if we don't
Yes.
find ways, again, to make that entry point accessible,
Yeah.
to take the time and share the work. And of course, New Theater is so collaborative. So there's so many artists that come on board that help shape that first production. And so I think we relish that
Yeah.
sort of growing something with a group once that script is in place.
Absolutely. And we know that sometimes people come to a show and they go, oh, I want to bring this, now that I've seen it, I think this would be a perfect fit for my
Right.
community. And we don't want to say, oh, sorry, we're done.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
impossible.
Never.
So we
Yeah.
always, want to have that long-term perspective with the projects where we have such amazing collaboration around and just really, maximize it.
Right. And I noticed in your auditions, and I know we talked about it before, but in your auditions, you state that this is paid work for actors in the
Yes.
area. So
All our
All our work is paid.
Yeah.
And we
Thank you.
we think it's really important, and we have always prioritized people over stuff.
Yeah.
Because we know that creative people can do a lot of exciting things with stuff.
yeah.
And we'd rather pay them than just go out and buy all the latest, greatest, whatever. We can create that together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We make stuff.
We make
Yeah.
stuff, that's right, and we make it here. And I think it was really funny when Petra and I got started. We were both divorced. We didn't have much to our names between us. But our mission when we first started, and we started kind of as an LLC and then said, no, we are such nonprofit people. We got to start our nonprofit. But it was our battle cry was no more starving artists.
Yes, that's
we were
right.
so tired of that narrative.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, I feel like if we perpetuate that narrative as artists, no one's going to change that for us.
That's right.
Exactly right.
We've got to help demonstrate and educate and collaborate in ways that show the true value of the integration of arts into all parts of
Yeah.
civilization and humanity. Everything from entertainment to economic development to healing and health. And if we're not, as artists, willing to help steer that ship and be intentional about that messaging, how can we have the expectation that people outside of our world are going to know that?
Exactly.
Right.
Because I'm sure you've heard it too, where people say, oh, but it's, it's not paid, but it's exposure. We're always saying, well, exposure doesn't pay rent, it doesn't buy groceries.
Yeah.
Right.
And you would never say to a lawyer, like, hey, would you do my taxes? Because that would be great exposure for you. Like,
Yeah.
I'll mention you to my friends.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
kind of something that's more for our industry. And we really want to shift that because we know, particularly I feel now after the pandemic, that the skills and experiences and talents that artists and creatives have are what everyone's looking for. Whenever there's a gap where people say, oh, we've created this, but we can't connect with the people, or there's something missing, it's always where the creatives can come in and fill and make it work.
Right.
And so we can't undersell that, because truly, in every creative, in every industry, what are people looking for? Problem solvers, collaborators,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? People thinking outside the box. Everything that creatives have.
People
So-
who are unafraid to be present and authentic in a moment, right?
Healthy-
Safe spaces for
yes,
people.
healthy risk taking. All of that's what creates, vibrant communities and amazing. So we just need to put a stop to the idea that working for free is okay.
We're going to work for free and we're so poor and everything's terrible.
Yes.
We can't. Yeah, sure it is if we let it be.
Exactly.
Now, at the same time that I say that, I feel like our generation of people in Nebraska, we are just scratching and some days clawing the surface
Yes.
of what that work will be
Yes.
over time.
Yes.
But I'm hoping, I've once heard that leadership is planting a tree that you'll never see grow.
Correct.
And I'm hoping that we're planting that.
Yeah.
That we're going to make it easier in 20, 40, 60, 100 years for creatives in Nebraska to have value, know their value, and for people who currently sort of dismiss artists to understand and desire to utilize their specific skill sets to make our community and state a better place to be.
Yeah.
And I noticed that about Blitx, that you have always kind of centered around the community piece of it. In fact, I want to say prior to your space here, prior to the pandemic, you were doing other things besides performance art. Is that correct? I know you were doing some, but there were some other things that were happening.
We do a lot of things that sort of grow beyond production itself. And so I think maybe the most articulate or clearest way we've come up to talk about what we are is a theater arts community development hybrid, because we do a lot of work with communities to help integrate arts into different parts of development. So that might be creating a nonprofit in a community that may or may not be arts related, but that visioning and mission statement and creating values, we might use pedagogy that stems from theater and the arts to help unlock that with folks who maybe don't think of themselves as creative, but of course are. We do a lot of work in terms of asset-based community development, so asset mapping, strengths, sort of how you identify individual talents and leverage them for the greater good of the community. We try to support communities who are doing brave, courageous, innovative things. And, a little known fact that I hope continues to sort of make itself more audible and out loud is that there are some pretty cool progressive things happening throughout greater Nebraska in our art scene. It's very easy when we live here to kind of get caught up in the eastern end of the state. But, I could name 10 communities right now who are doing really cool arts and cultural innovation in their places. And so that is something we cannot overlook, especially because we have this wonderful history in Nebraska, this pioneer spirit. And oh my gosh, doesn't it take that sort of like proving up homesteader attitude to have a life in the arts,
Yes.
You got to be willing to plant some corn in an iceberg,
Well, maybe
and then
it'll
make it
this
grow.
time.
Yeah, exactly. So we definitely have a love affair with this state.
Yeah, we do.
For sure.
And like you said, it's from the outside, it may not seem like it's performance related, but it's always like creative related.
Yeah, that's so encouraging to see, because you weren't raised here, and yet you came here and you just love it, and that's just really encouraging to see how special of a state that we have.
We really do. I think it's such an underrated place for creatives, and that's the key. Is if we can help communities. It's always hard to see what you have when you're living it. It's like people who drive by the Rockies every day and are like, oh, there's the mountains.
there's the mountains.
But we go and we're, our mouths are agape looking at these beautiful things.
Yeah.
Nebraska's the same. It's so affordable to live here. Our education is great. We have these big open skies, and Stephen King writes about us because we're weird, not because we're normal.
No, he doesn't write about normal stuff.
So
Well, and that's and to your point about the art scene here, not being from here, when I came here, I was shocked between Omaha and Lincoln, just in that area, and then as we started doing our thing, we look even more beyond.
And we haven't even scratched the surface.
No, we haven't even
really.
scratched the surface. I was completely floored.
So,
I was completely floored
we're
by the
just
amount
getting
of
there.
arts that is happening up here. Nebraska.
Yeah, there's so many
Right
cool
here.
That
things.
doesn't come to your head. I know.
Yeah, and like heritage tourism.
Yeah.
I think about our friends in Red Cloud and what the Willa Cather Center has done. And I mean, we have these amazing arts and cultural assets just sort of dotted throughout our communities that several communities are doing a great job of saying, hey, look at this. We
Yeah.
want to share this. But I think we can do that even more. And we can certainly do that more in Lincoln and Omaha.
Absolutely.
yeah. And I think, though, I've seen a change just because I grew up here and then I went away and ended up back here. But we had like a full-time band teacher, we had a full-time choral teacher, we had a full-time art teacher. Those don't happen anymore. So I think what we're maybe experiencing is our generation that's grown up in this, and now this is kind of like normal for us. But I don't think that the kids are getting that. I mean, they're getting it outside of school, but
It's
as far
outside of
as
school
goes,
now.
Yeah.
I think they're missing some of that, and I really worry about that. But with all of the creatives like yourself that are out here doing things, I think that will help make up for it, and they'll be able to experience it.
I
that
sure
way.
hope so.
Yeah.
We've been really fortunate to work in several of our local CLCs, which are community learning centers, after school with students of
Yeah.
all ages and grade levels. And actually this year, I'll let Petra talk about it because it's really her area of expertise, but we have a teaching incubator here in partnership with Nebraska Wesleyan where we're teaching Nebraska Wesleyan students from different disciplines to be teaching artists working in schools.
Yeah. So in the after-school
wonderful.
program and lead clubs, and this is our pilot. We have pilot 2 years, and this is our first semester. So it's a small beginning, but the idea is that we'll have students from different disciplines kind of work together to lead a club. So you could have, math and dance or, those kinds of things. So, but we want to make sure kind of for sustainability that we can be a little bit of a just support for those younger teaching artists when they go into the after school clubs, so that if they have questions or they're not sure, something maybe wasn't going how they expected it, that they're not kind of on their own, but that we can be there and mentor them through that and provide the support both before with planning and then during as well. And it's obviously a two-way street. It's not like we're teaching them everything. They're, teaching us in the process as well. But it's a collaboration between our three entities with the goal of having more creative opportunities for the young students at the local schools here. And of course, again, providing paid opportunities for university students to then be able to explore that teaching and leading and their passions. And so
Project-based learning,
Yeah.
which is so cool because then, of course, the kids co-curate or curate what they're working on, which I think is another pathway to deeper connections when, there's a big difference between doing to and doing with. And we try really hard not to do anything to. We always
Yeah.
want to do with. So with project-based learning with our teaching artists, that gives our students an opportunity to actually curate what interests them, and then we can support that, which is exciting.
So we don't have a cookie cutter like this is what's going to happen
For anything.
For anything,
Right, yeah.
So we have ideas, kind of this is how it could look, and then it will be planned together with those students. We can always say like, oh, the adult leaders and the student leaders. And what's also really interesting this year is that there are some specific things that teachers are seeing from the pandemic in terms of student behavior. And of course, we're like, perfect. We can address that through the, creativity and performing arts. Like, that's perfect. So I think that's going to be really interesting too this year and coming year to kind of see how we can support the school and the students with these specific kind of knowing what they're looking for, and then using the performing arts. So yes, it's very exciting, and we love partnerships, and we've been working with the CLCs for many years. So
that's just on the university level right now.
So it's our university
Yeah.
students who are coming in as teaching artists for the elementary and
for
middle
elementary.
school students.
Although we've worked for several years with the CLCs and helped train and accommodate different
Yeah.
situations with teaching artists. But this is really what I love is the interdisciplinary focus of it, because I think anytime that we can put people from the arts world with people of different disciplines and sort of gain that understanding and understand how we can make each other better, that we have opportunities not only to succeed in terms of building the right environment for our kids, but also innovate.
Yeah.
Like what kind of awesome, I keep using weird, what kind of weird collaborations come out of that? I love that.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's going to be great.
Yes.
So excited
And then, of
for
course,
it.
those
Yeah.
teaching artists can teach other teaching artists, and we just have more and
Right.
more opportunities for our young people to express themselves creatively.
Yeah, we really need that. I worry about the sustainability of it. So how exciting is that you're doing that for for Nebraska? And-
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, and so you're going to be doing not too far distant, which you've written. Then you're also going to be doing a winter variety show called Kringle in December.
Kringle.
Kringle! So one of my favorite things at Trader Joe's is the Kringle.
From Wisconsin.
Yes.
Yes.
And Petra's Swedish, so she loves baked goods.
Anything baked goods, I'm great with.
This is true, yes.
But what just
I must be
happens?
Swedish. then.
We're all Swedish today.
We got Swedish in there.
Part of what's so fun about Kringle is we happen to have a world-class triple threat musical theater artist, Michelle Engel. So it's in Kringle, right? Engel is in Kringle.
Perfect.
It is.
But Michelle is a wonderful artist, director, singer, dancer, actor, and a longtime friend of Blixt, and is going to curate this winter variety show. So once again, while we talk about expanding our staff, it's also a real gift for us to have the opportunity to invite other artists in to help create our season. That is such a reaffirming thing for us.
Yeah.
We love it when we know that there are others ready to put forth quality work that shares our values of taking care of artists and honoring our community and our audience. And so Michelle's wonderful, and we just don't know what to expect yet from that.
No.
I mean, I kind of like envision
Fantastic.
a goat dressed like Santa. I don't know.
Wow.
It could be anything, but it's going to be great.
And jingle rhymes with Kringle and Ingle, and I'm just like, what does it mean?
Yeah, what does it all mean?
So Kringle's a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like a Kringle kind
Just like
of
a Kringle.
Just
and,
like a
You
Christmas
don't know
present.
what's going to be inside.
and not to be disrespectful, but filled with nuts, filled with creative nuts. And we'll just, yeah, we're excited.
Yep.
I love it. That'll be such a
Perfecto.
fun
It will
holiday
be so fun.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then after that is the processor, and then you have some upcoming things with Puddin' and the Grumble, which haven't been decided yet. But that is one that you did just recently, this past.
That's right. Just
Spring,
in April.
summer?
Yeah, yeah.
Puddin' and the Grumble. And that was one that you put together, yeah?
Yeah, it was commissioned by the Lead Center in 2015. It premiered at the Lead in 2016. And David Von Kampen is the composer. I wrote the book and lyrics.
Cool.
In collaboration with our wonderful friends at Food Bank of Lincoln and Clinton Elementary School. Petra and I actually had the opportunity. There's an amazing group of kids, fifth graders at Clinton Elementary School, that write an essay to be selected to help distribute food backpacks on Distribution Day.
Oh, cool.
It's a real honor for them to participate in the distribution. And what we loved about that, as we were learning about child hunger, is how that destigmatizes the process. When there are a lot of kiddos receiving a backpack, and it's a cool thing to be a helper with the backpacks, and
Even a competitive thing.
Yeah.
it becomes kind of cool. So we had
That's
the
cool.
honor of working with a group of fifth graders who graduated from high school last year.
And actually,
Wow.
some that we're still working with.
Yes.
So they're still not getting rid of us.
We're like the creepy old ladies that show up at their weddings, you know? But these wonderful kids simply reminded us what it was like to be 10 or 11 again. And so the musical was written sort of around all the information, once again, of those valued shared partners that we have, and premiered, and then went on for a tour in Florida and West Virginia. And then our friends at Norfolk Arts Center actually reached out last year and asked us if we would reboot a new like put in 2.0. So we shared that with about 1,500 kids in Norfolk last spring. And it was such an honor for us because we had been asked by our friends throughout the state and region, can Put In come to us? And at the time, we really didn't have the capacity because of our workload to remount that show for tour. And that opportunity in Norfolk gave us that opportunity.
Yeah. So then it's available. So we're going to doing a run here at Nebraska Wesleyan, with our dear friends and neighbors, and we're doing a spring break camp with the community learning centers. Yes, because when we partner. I love it. We keep it. And so we're going to do workshops during the spring break for students at multiple sites across the city, and then we'll do a shared performance at the end as a culmination, so students and families can come and see the show, and we can talk, and we'll have dinner together. And then we head back to Valley County and do shows there, and then we're heading to Missouri.
So is that from where you are from, part of Missouri?
This is very interesting. Actually, we have a stop in my hometown, but I haven't lived there for 40 years, and I don't know anybody there.
What's your hometown?
Rolla.
Rolla!
Yeah, I'm from Rolla.
We know people in Rolla.
Yeah. I have a very good friend, Dr. Daniel Reardon. He's one of the professors at the Missouri S&T now.
It used to be Missouri School of Mines.
Rolla School of Mines. He's one of the professors of the English department there.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he also is a big-time participator in the local community theater playhouse, the Rolla Playhouse.
Right now.
He is the co-writer of their version of the Christmas Carol that they're doing this Christmas.
Amazing.
And
maybe we'll have to connect. So it'd be fun to meet him.
But yes, he's a super great guy. Him and his wife.
He's doing it with somebody from here, though. The director is from Omaha.
Yes, the director of the Rolla Playhouse is
was it Julie?
Suzanne.
With them. So we're talking about Ozarks Actors Theater.
There you go.
So that's our contact too.
So
small world.
Yes, Danny's an old friend. Holy
that's
cow!
So cool.
Yes, how great is that?
We're so interconnected here,
and we're trying to pull Danny in on our little project as well.
And for any of our listeners who hasn't heard it from our first season, Daniel and the people that he worked with at the School of Mines let us release their performance of the Christmas Carol that they did online as a radio play.
Yes, that Danny did the adaptation of.
I'm taking a long time to say the things, but it was like their school radio that they did it for, and they did it in conjunction with the music department as well.
Yes, and
so
Danny.
Cool.
That is available, and it is one of our most downloaded episodes.
Yes, it is. Danny did the adaptation and also played Scrooge, and I believe Danny's wife
was in it. Yes,
she played a couple. I know she was Mrs. Cratchit, and I think she may have played Mrs. Fezziwig.
I think
that is so awesome. Well, I am one of the few people from my family who did not graduate from the Missouri School of Mines.
Oh, wow.
My dad is an engineer and hometown people, and my maiden name is Key. There was the Key Sports Shop there for many years, but we moved to Nebraska when I was 5.
Oh.
And I have
this was your place.
Been a Nebraska kid.
You found your people. Us
Yeah.
weird people up here.
These weirdo Nebraskans that I love so much.
Hey, it's not for everyone.
Glad it's for me. Yeah, that's right.
Yep, the good weird life.
That's right.
There's the new one.
That's right.
I like that.
I like that better.
Thanks.
Well,
I could mention that we are already in the throes of developing a new script for next season with multiple partners that actually focuses on the very relevant issue of early childhood development in Nebraska. And what's exciting about that work is part of the performance will be in English, part will be in Spanish, and each part will be translated for both audiences.
sides.
So it's not a matter of, for instance, a character monologuing in English and then in Spanish. It's something happening with an English-speaking character and then something different happening with a Spanish-speaking character,
Right.
and tracking the story through the different languages as a representative, an authentic representative of the folks who are early child care professionals throughout our state. So
That's
we are
really
just
neat.
embarking on that project, and that will be very exciting.
Yeah.
And some cool new works coming up next year, and we're just rolling along here at
Rolling,
Blixt.
rolling.
Yes.
I love it. It's a beautiful
for you.
space. I know you guys aren't quite finished with it. You'll probably have some big party, I suppose, when you're all.
Anytime
Ready.
we have an excuse to throw a party, we find that we go for it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And we want, we're so excited to be part of this neighborhood.
We
here
love
in
this
North
neighborhood.
Lincoln. Our
Oh my gosh.
Awesome neighbors over at the Lux have been so welcoming and supportive, and we just feel very embraced by the community.
Nice.
And we're excited to be here and to be able to open our doors. I mean, we're outside and interacting with people. We've been part of several community festivals, but to truly be able to welcome people into our space is going to be a dream come true.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, I know you both just keep really busy. I know, Becky, you keep really busy as a professor at Wesleyan. And did
Yes.
you graduate from Wesleyan?
I didn't. I was
Okay.
a UNL kid.
UNL, okay.
Okay.
I've actually had opportunities. It's so weird. I am not an academic, but I've had the opportunity to teach at Doane University, UNL, and Nebraska Wesleyan.
Holy cow, good for you.
Nebraska Wesleyan is such a good fit, and I'm an adjunct there, but I teach their playwriting classes.
Oh, that's
Nice.
And I teach playwriting with entrepreneurship and an element of social engagement. So I'm trying to teach our kids to write, workshop, produce, publish, really,
Yeah.
really find a way to bring their works to life. And they exceed my expectations. So it's very exciting.
Wow. Writing is such a hard thing to do. So
I agree. I agree.
I agree too. It's
I
what I'm
like
talking
to do
about.
it.
Where you're like,
I
what?
know. I love to do it, and I love to read, and I like to write.
Right.
But God, it's
So what's your
hard.
one tip that you would give anyone who wants to write something?
I would say drop any hesitancy and don't be afraid to write crap. It really is okay if the first 5 or 6 iterations are just terrible. There is not a play I write that the first iteration of is not terrible. But if you can trust that process, there will be strong bones in that iteration where I say, oh, this is what I think it is. And you just kind of have to drop that self-editor.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
brain literally cannot write and edit at the same time. So give yourself permission not to edit and understand anything can go away, but
Yeah.
you just got to get it on the page.
just get it
And that's
out
why I
and
think
down.
journaling is so important, and why we should probably journal more, because if you aren't editing yourself, those thoughts are coming down, and as you go back and read your thoughts, it probably sparks a lot of creativity in people as well.
I think it does. And I
Just having
think
it uncensored.
if writers, and including everyone at this table, if we just remind ourselves that you don't have to be at a keyboard typing to be writing. You two are probably writing all the time. You are curating your story in your mind. And so trust that process as well, and know that when you sit down, there is going to be something that goes from brain to fingers to
Something,
page.
yeah.
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 Right.
Just more self-trust, I think, and permission to fail and write. I mean, I was thinking about the first skeleton for Not Too Far Distant, which has been a very quick process. And if I handed that to anyone, I would be horrified. But except I knew what I was doing, which was creating a kind of skeleton that I could dig out the next level on, So it's just, sometimes it's got to be real bad before it's real good. And that's what we're going for.
That's a
Don't
big
know if
one.
we're there, but we're working on it.
Yeah. That's a good tip. No, that's a
That
big one for
is.
me. Self-editing.
Yeah.
Just put it down. Just put it
be
down.
kind to yourself. Let go
Just
of
put
that.
it down.
I
Yeah.
encourage people even to use poor grammar, misspell things, like
Just
really get in the
get it
habit
out.
of, getting that stuff out and trusting your own voice instead of trying to sound like someone else.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
You know, we do this, we screw up in this industry with actors. We try to make
Yes.
them all look like Jennifer Aniston. And it's like, no, there's
no.
4,000 Jennifer Anistons lining up at that audition and one you. Go be you.
I'm a huge proponent of that. Just like that coffee cup over there.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
That's right. The same is true of your writer's voice, right?
That's absolutely true.
Don't worry about emulating a tone
Stop
or
trying to
thinking
be-
it's got to be a
yes.
certain way. Just get you, the most concise version of you today
Yep.
at this moment on that page
Yep.
and see what you got.
Yep, we haven't heard that story.
I bet
One
that's
from
helpful
you.
for you, even just in
Yeah.
writing your music as well.
Just anything. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
just get it out.
Just get it out.
We don't write enough about our lives. I had an aunt that passed away, and I asked my mom where her papers were because I kind of hoped, she was a great aunt, I kind of hoped that she had kept a journal about her life. But if it's out there, I don't think we know about it. But anyway.
Well, it kind of ties back to Not Too Far Distant and these letters and
Yes.
both the handwriting, because of course the letters
Yeah.
exist where you can see the handwriting, but they're also typed. So because for modern audiences, it's easier for
Yeah.
us to read. You know, we have a little
Yes.
harder time reading
Cursive.
Cursive, for sure.
But that personal touch of someone's handwriting. And then, like Becky said, over 400 letters that Clarence wrote to his wife actually preserved. So that, so it's kind of,
That is.
yeah.
Kind of the same. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited that you're getting to start this new chapter. I know the pandemic was probably not easy. I know you changed spaces somewhere in between there, but
yes.
We did right before the
right before
Right
the
before?
pandemic.
Well, you got it in before, at least.
We actually, and it worked out in the end just fine. It was nice
Yeah.
not to have overhead during the
Yes.
pandemic, and it let us
Right.
do some wild, weird stuff.
There you go.
But we had a much smaller space that a gentleman drove through.
accidentally.
No.
He hit the gas instead of the brakes.
Oh, no.
And it was sort of half of the office was basement level, and then the windows to the ceiling were above ground, and they faced the parking lot.
Okay.
And he drove his truck into it.
Oh, no.
Petra was out teaching poetry out loud, I think.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
But yes, fortunately, neither one of us was in the office at the time, but you couldn't even reach me because I was out of service range. So I didn't even know this was happening,
Oh,
and
my
Becky
God.
was dealing with it on her own we had,
Oh, my God.
it was an ordeal.
It was but
It worked out.
The
then.
timing,
Yeah.
the timing was okay, and we're so fortunate in this space to have so much independence. That was a space that we were sharing with different office mates, and there was a shared restroom, and here we can just kind of spread out and be ourselves.
yourselves,
and
yeah.
That's really
Great.
nice, yeah.
And you both keep so busy, and Petra, you do so much for the Nebraskans, for the
thank you.
arts
Yep.
on top of it. So you guys are just two really amazing women that are making such a great dent into the creative space and bringing it to Nebraska. So
That's so
For
kind.
sure.
Thank you.
we're super honored to spend time with you.
We are
We're so glad you
Yes.
did.
This has been
Yes.
so fun.
Yep. Thanks for
Great
inviting us
hear
to your new
story.
place.
Yes, thank
Thank
you
you for coming.
Come see us anytime.
We will.
For sure.
Come
we
make
will be
something
back.
with us.
Yes.
We absolutely will.
We sure need to do that. I think that needs to happen. All right. Well, thank you so much to Becky Boesen and Petra Wahlqvist. Thank you so much for having us here at Blixt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Our first time in the new space, and I'm sure we will be
Beautiful.
back.
Yes, I hope it's the first of many.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gene, a one-person show written and performed by Ann Truca, opens Saturday, October 15th, and shows are at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. at the Mill Bistro at Innovation Campus, located at 2021 Transformation Drive in Lincoln. For tickets and more information about Blixt and the rest of their upcoming season, go to blixt.info.
Thank you for listening and supporting the arts in the Platte River area and beyond. Please subscribe to our podcast so you are sure to catch all of our future episodes and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Music for this podcast was used with permission by Screaming Skull Productions. See you next time on the Platte River Bard.